Hey everyone, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. We're at episode 706. This is being recorded on January 11, 2023. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Sprumberg, and it's just as surprised as you to be here in 2023.
Hey,
I was planning on it. We have to get to 800 somehow.
That makes one of us.
Somehow, some way. 800.
Yeah, well, we won't get there this year unless we start doing 2 of these a week, but I value my sanity too much for that. But hey,
I didn't think we'd ever make it in the 700s, to tell you the truth.
Nope.
You didn't think we'd ever get to the 700 club, as it were?
Not like you personally, but when we started this out in 2008, 2009.
Triple digits was not even a thought.
14 years later.
In fact, 2007, I think, was when Ryan started. But, Jeremy was there.
Yep.
Yeah, you weren't there, Josh.
I wasn't there.
Ryan, Lee, and I, not knowing what the hell we were doing.
And using, unlicensed music.
Shush you.
Oh, okay. You can support
Long
us
since demonetized.
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
go ahead.
You can support us on Patreon. Speaking of monetization, we're monetizing ourselves, or rather you are. So if you're responsible for this. If you don't like it, well, please don't stop supporting us anyway. Patreon.com/PCPer. And one of the things that is ever popular on this show, and it's continuing into 2023, Food with Josh, a.k.a. Burger of the Week.
Oh, geez. I wasn't prepared for this.
Oh, we'll just wait.
Yeah, just wait. Okay.
We could go back. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I got it.
And now let's go to Laramie, Wyoming for Food with Josh.
Food with me. Look at how pale I am. Look at how
Where's that orange background?
It's only partially orange.
Okay.
You picked the wrong orange. There you go.
Burger Wednesdays may be taking a toll on me. Maybe I should really revisit my diet.
Josh, do it for us.
Lovingly at my slug-like appearance. No, today was an interesting one. It was called Blue on Black. It is a single blackened smash patty topped with smoked bacon, applewood smoked blue cheese crumbles, white onion, jalapeno, and Cajun aioli. I know it kind of looks like a mess there. It was hard to take apart and get it to see all the stuff. And I'm gonna be serious here. It was a little disappointing. It was a little too salty. Too many blue cheese crumbles. It was just overpowering. I think if they had added more jalapenos and a little bit more of the aioli and backed off on the blue cheese, it really would have come together. But it was kind of a swing and a miss this time from the old Born in the Barn. I mean, I appreciate the thought that they put into this, and looking at it originally, I thought it was going to be fantastic, but it was just too much blue cheese, sadly. Otherwise, it probably would have been fantastic. I don't know.
Yeah. Some people's tastes, because the more blue cheese, the better.
Let's move to news. And one of the most important stories has to be that just yesterday, officially, the non-X Ryzen 7000 desktop processors launched. Now, as you may know, since we talked about this, I think last week, these are lower cost alternatives to the X processors. So
sort of.
Well, okay.
Yeah, but they come with cooler.
Yep.
Yes, that was what we talked about, I think, last week, is that kind of adds to the value a little bit. But they're lower power draw.
Yes. Well, are you going to put, 195 watt TDP in a small form factor system? And expect good things to happen?
Sure.
So why not go with the 65 watt variant?
Yeah, that's true. And then, of course, Intel at the same time announced their 65 watt processors, which, of course, draw more than that unless you get the T variants. But anyway, Tweaktown had a look at these. Now, somebody just mentioned pricing a minute ago. $429 for the non-X 7900 doesn't sound that appealing when the X variant has been selling for a pretty steep discount for a while now. I think all December and into January, those have been discounted. So how much do you want the cooler? How much do you need the lower base TDP?
Well, it's really the base TDP, because like looking at actual pricing, this launch price versus what you can buy the X for, you're saving $10 to $15 compared to the X version. It's not a huge savings.
Yeah.
But it's also not a huge performance drop.
You know,
6 points on that one.
All things being equal, I would rather buy the X and then downclock it myself. You know, if you're an enthusiast, you can just go into the BIOS and set the voltage and the wattage and the frequency yourself. But you wouldn't get that cooler.
Yeah, they're throwing in a cooler, so you save slightly more. So what's that cooler worth? $6, $10?
Plus, didn't they lower? I'm thinking of the X3D. They lowered the temperature target with the X3D to like 88 from 95. So maybe
these still seem to be 95-ish.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Anyway, they're out there. The prices aren't that attractive yet, but those are entry prices. At some point, we will start to see discounts, just like we did with the X series.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you are kind of paying for the 65-watt TDP.
Yeah.
And I do like the Wraith cooler. The bigger Wraith cooler is actually a pretty solid unit. And you can plug it into your RGB thing if you want. For that kind of implementation, it's pretty fantastic. You don't need to get an all-in-one type thing or a massive be quiet monstrosity. Overall, I'm not trying to pump AMD up here, but it is another option at some interesting market prices. So the more SKUs in this case, the merrier. Unlike Intel, which didn't they just release Xeons with something like 56 different SKUs?
It's 52, but really, sure.
Yeah. That's not much of an exaggeration, 56 from 52.
Oh, I know it is, yeah.
Let's move to our video cards portion of the news. There's a bunch of stuff in here, but
absolutely.
Core i9 13900KS running at 6 gigahertz out of the box. That's massive.
Nice.
But okay, there's this story, and I don't know if this has been debunked. I thought I saw something on Twitter earlier, but anyway, as of today at some point, the CPU maker AMD had apparently confirmed the launch date for 3D Vcache Zen 4 CPUs as Valentine's Day. If you can, infer that.
I know what I want in my bouquet now.
And look at how there's that like rainbow reflection off of the left CCD with that stacked cache.
Isn't it great? Isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Screw the diamonds. Give me silicon.
A lot of questions about that single CCD 3D cache.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Talking about that.
Well, yeah. When we can't even get a consistent experience in Windows, like one version of Windows 11 has scheduling issues, but the other one doesn't. We've got to wait, and now we're going to
because the CPU doesn't have a hardware scheduler. I just wanted to put that out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't worry, they'll fix it all with the GISA. Those massive code base updates that.
And there's always room. Always
there's
room for
never
more
enough room. And then they like the latest one that got pulled. I was going to update the one AM5 platform board I have here because I was going to move on to a GISA 1.0.4 and sort of revamp the test bed for GPUs this year. And then it got yanked because it dropped support for the Ryzen 5 7600X.
Oops.
So I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. I will revisit it once, .4 is re-released, I guess. But for now, I've just jump shipped to Intel. For the
we really were kind of spoiled in ways with now don't get me wrong, AMD has been far from perfect, but the 570 and the 550 were all launched with the 3000 series, and I do remember a lot of teething issues with both X470 boards with the new BIOS, and some of them supported PCIe 4.0, and then they yanked that, and then the 570s had issues and all kinds of AGISA things, and then the 5000 series came along, and a lot of those motherboard problems were all just solved. I mean, it was just kind of tweaking from there on out. There were no big showstoppers. And then X670 hits, AM5, and we get to go through all of these lovely ecosystem type issues with AMD.
Same story, a new flavor.
You got to think that until about 2 years ago, they were not making a whole lot of money.
Nope.
And they started doing better when they released the 3000, and they were still struggling along with GPUs at that point. And then 5000 hit, and they were starting to make money in the pandemic, and GPUs were selling, and they have the new Xbox and the new PlayStation, and suddenly they became flush with cash. They started throwing more money at their graphics group, and now hopefully, they are also throwing more money at the chipset and platform type guys, because their Epic stuff is actually really, 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 really good. We have several Dell machines now at work, servers with higher end Epics in there, 2P platforms, and those things are just monsters. They're really great to work with. But that whole consumer thing, which is still very much their bread and butter, they need to address that badly, because there's just, I would love to buy a 7000 series with the AM5, but memory is still pretty high. It's a lot better now than it was, 6-7 months ago. You can actually get decent 6032 gigs of stuff for about 150. So that's a major improvement. But gosh,
motherboard's still a kick.
Motherboards are still expensive, and the issues that you have with them. And I would probably get a 7600X because I'm a cheapwad, but might as well just get a 7700 or wait for the 7800 3D or whatever, because it's only a smaller portion of the overall platform costs.
Well, to recap that last story, apparently from AMD directly, it is Valentine's Day where we will see the X3D processor. Seems soon. I want to know pricing.
Well,
you know
that's
what?
Okay.
If you're asking the price, you can't afford it.
True. I got to spend all my
But
money.
they're also going to break your heart. AMD is also breaking your heart.
V for Vcash. Valentine's Day.
It's clever.
Mm-hmm.
AMD likes to do their clever 7/7 day for Ryzen 7 and 7 nanometer. Yeah.
And it runs quicker on a leap year.
Speaking of running quicker, your Radeon RX 7900 XTX, if it's made
reference
by
unit
AMD, right? The MBA made by AMD cards, which are sold by AMD and then other companies like PowerColor. Rather famously, actually, MSI did not sell a reference card, but has their own AIB custom version coming. Well, it turns out that there is an issue with the XTX, as we spoke about recently. Scott Herkelman went on with Gordon Mung. I was hoping for a written statement, but we have a video clip instead. So you can go to, where is it? It's probably embedded in here. So the AMD Responds interview clip on YouTube. Watch that. Scott will explain what's going on. And he says, there's no safety concern. That was his big priority with this. We're able to root cause that. Is there a potential performance issue? What we found is that if you throttle at 110 degrees in certain workloads, as in, all, you will see a small performance delta.
Well, I guess any workload that works the GPU to 110 degrees,
not
you're going to see some throttling on that.
Look,
not
on
everything.
Windows desktop,
if you don't use it,
was barely impacted.
As an app, Windows desktop rarely drives the GPU that hard.
Yes. Yeah. So as long as you don't use it, it'll run at full speed.
Mm-hmm. And you got to give them credit, because think back when the day when Tom's Hardware removed the CPU cooler from their Athlon and they self-destructed. At least the GPU's not doing this. They've learned their lesson from 14, 15, 20 years ago, and have implemented safety procedures in the GPU to keep it from exploding.
Oh, that's an important point. Throttling is the right thing to do.
Oh yeah, that's it. There were some people who were encountering this issue with the reference cards, and some who did not. I was concerned because in the reviewer's guide, it was warning reviewers about the fact that 110 degrees was normal. Like, hold on a second. Why are they bringing this up? And I started to get a little suspicious, but then our card didn't do anything. However, I only ever tested the card vertical on the GPU test bed. I never had it horizontal. So then I found out, the science behind vapor chambers a little bit and watched the DeBauer video and have been following this. And I don't know if ours is affected or not. I haven't played around with it. It could have been from a different patch. This is supposedly a rather small issue according to AMD. They're not doing a recall. They're doing case by case, which is a lot less expensive. And there's plenty of people out there who will never install this horizontally, who have one of those cases and a vertical GPU mount and will never have the issue at all. And good for them. All right, MSI Afterburner. Let's talk about it. Is it going to flare out? Because it's apparently just developed by one individual who hasn't been paid in almost a year due to the conflict in Ukraine. This is a Russian developer who can't get paid because of sanctions or something.
More or less, yeah. Well, MSI just said, no, we're not going to pay money into Russia.
Apparently, they've never heard of digital
PayPal
coin payments.
He should just move to Cyprus with a bunch of the other expat Russians. Problem solved. World of Warships. No longer a Russian company. It's now Cypriot. I believe.
It's known as, they're Cypriots, aren't they? Yeah, so it is a concern, though, because it's literally a project that depends on this one guy. And he has been going on for 11 months now without a paycheck and has sort of said, I'm going to have to find a job and get something to pay for it. MSI is saying that don't worry, Afterburner is still going to keep going on. I do suspect that they own a lot of the IP and the ability to carry it on with it. But the funny thing is that, and I didn't realize this, remember Riva Tuner?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So he still runs some. Yeah, it's the same guy. He runs the Riva Tuner statistics server, which is what Afterburner depends on because it's essentially harvesting data to figure out, when you hit the overclock button, where should some limits be and, what can we sort of tweak and what is 135% power envelope on this particular card. He is still going to keep running that. That is just a side project of his that he loves, apparently. But yeah, it could be that Afterburner is going to go through some changes.
It seems like there's a lot of software developers in Russia because that was one of the issues with Intel Arc driver development is when this broke out, they had a team over there that suddenly was unable to work with Intel the way they had been.
Historically, they've had some very good coders because they've had crap hardware to work with for a long time. And,
And the coders knew hardware as well because they had to fix that too because it's not like someone else was going to do it.
Plus, Tetris came out of Russia. So Speaking of gaming, Meta.
That's a nasty lead-in.
Facebook, it's failed.
Yeah, but they're blaming the headset.
They dropped $30 billion into Meta, haven't they? Or the VR.
Yeah,
stuff.
Dropped being the operative word.
Correct. They could have, for that same money, developed 135 GTA 5s with that money.
Probably.
GTA
That's
5
a lot of hot coffee.
Makes a lot more money than anything that Facebook has ever. Well, that's not.
How old is GTA 5 now?
I don't know, but it's still incredibly lucrative based on.
It's older than the original MetaQuest VR, aka the original Oculus Rift.
Okay, so educate me. The Oculus Quest.
It's 10 years, by the way.
Now, the Rift is old, right? The Rift was the first one.
Well, the Quest, they claim it's 4 years old. It's only about three and a bit years old.
So the Quest is fairly recent hardware, and it's already losing support March 5th.
Correct.
We'll no longer receive
there will be no more security updates.
Feature applications.
So you won't be able to go to the Meta parties, which I hear have dozens of people, maybe.
Dozens of half people, because, they still haven't.
Yes.
They just fake.
Well, they tried to unleash the legs, and there just was too many legs.
Fraud.
The legs took everything over. It was awful. And Horizon Home. It's
John Carmack had to rebuy Beat Saber after he left. Meta, because they cut off all of his games and he had to rebuy them. He's only worked there for how many years?
Yeah.
And done so much for them, but
there is no better proponent of VR in the entire industry than John Carmack, and they're gonna screw him over.
Yes.
Come on.
They're gonna zuck him over.
Oh,
yeah.
That
So
$3.49 or whatever he paid for that is,
Yep. And I mean, the problem is that they're claiming that you'll still be able to access your games, but do we trust Meta and like the whole, you need a Facebook login? Oh crap, everyone's pissed off. Okay, you don't, but you need a Meta login.
What's the difference between a Meta login and a Facebook login, please?
Well, isn't that an interesting question? Because I don't think there's any if you had a previous Facebook account. So it's still harvesting all of your data. It's just sad after sad after sad. But yeah, if you've got one of the older VR headsets, the good old MetaQuest VR, she's gone. You can always drop like $1,500 on the Pro version.
When is that going to be available?
Oh, that one still is.
Oh, okay.
The Quest VR Pro came out, I don't know, about 8-10 months ago. So but it's $1,500.
The new expensive one, that's not out yet, right?
Oh, that'll be 2024. The Quest 3 will be in 2024.
Just in time to be completely irrelevant.
Yes, pretty much what they're looking at. It's a CF. It's a cluster. You know what?
If you don't want to train DALL-E, check your Adobe Creative Cloud settings. Oh, so this is a default thing now. They're just scanning your library, and you're part of the AI infrastructure for this.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Because one thing that Adobe doesn't have is their own text-to-art machine learning product. What they do have is an immense amount of source material. So.
Yeah.
Just the thing for a hungry machine learning algorithm. Sorry.
Yes.
Were you gonna post the Disneyland marathon picture from Slack?
That's great. Hold on a second.
There is a whole series of these. There's 10 or 15 of them that are equally as horrifying. I don't know if you found the whole series of them, but I thumbed through them.
This is enough, Brett. This is enough.
You don't need any more.
Oh my gosh! Look for the series of these if you really want to. You'll never get the tough stains out, and I'm pointing at my head.
Let's move on to a Security Corner. Their ever popular and ever growing segment that's going to dominate the entire podcast.
Just today.
Last pass.
Yeah, that's enough of an idea.
No, we skipped that one.
Okay. Nope. That's not.
We went for something better.
Sort of.
Okay, so what's this one?
Anyway, go on.
Ars Technica cracked. A fifth of passwords used by federal agency cracked in security audit. 89% of the department's high-value assets didn't use multi-factor authentication. Or, like 99% of Americans don't use it unless they're forced to.
Yeah.
They were subject to the very popular attacks, typical government terminology, pop culture, common, QWERTY type, somebody going along the top of the keyboard and typing QWERTY, dictionary attack type stuff. They're just as susceptible as the rest of us, no matter what rules they're supposed to be under. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, and it gets worse because even more of them failed the MFA exhaustion attack. Where when your phone keeps saying, "Oh, do you approve this one? Do you approve this?" and then eventually they just hit yes to make it stop.
Security is no laughing matter, Brad.
That's actually in the cases when they applied it, because in a lot of cases they just sort of, and I know this is exactly what happened. Okay, so everyone's really annoyed at the MFA, and we're just clicking approve anyways when we see it, so let's just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Let's see. The most commonly used passwords, password 1234. Now, this is clever because it meets all the requirements. The P is capitalized. Yep. It has a hyphen, that's your special character, and then 1234.
Yes.
478 instances of that. Oddly enough.
Oh, damn it. Should I change my pick?
This is interesting. Bronco $2012, where the O's in Bronco are zeros. 300.
So when did the Broncos win?
Must have been 2012.
No,
so.
2015 is when the
Oh,
Broncos
It was
won their
2015, which is the funniest thing.
Now,
They didn't win
Bronco in
2012.
2012 is, I think, that's when they first interviewed Peyton. Or was it 2013?
Oh, is that what it is? Because I saw that and I'm like, that's not when the Broncos won, and I looked it up because no, that was 2015. But they're Broncos fans, so what do you want?
How could there be
They don't do
389
the math
instances
well.
of that? Because then right below that is password $123, you know, to get that special character requirement met. Password
Or maybe
123.
QWERTY.
Yep.
Change it now.
QWERTY.
1 2 3
QWERTY's a
4
great one.
password. These are so creative.
I love the two variants of change it in here, which is
That is one that gets.
I wouldn't have seen that one coming.
I think it's automated because I've seen this one before. This change it now. I believe you get that when you do a password reset. And then
Gotcha.
I've had this email
Interesting.
before where it's like your new password is change it now, and then you have to go in and change it the first time you log in.
Huh.
So
Except people aren't.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
So
Algorithmically, from a brute force approach, the complexity with different characters, different character sets, uppercase, lowercase, it doesn't matter to a brute force algorithm. What really matters is actually length. Is do 2 or 3 words
so
together.
Brett, hold on.
Yeah.
Brett Van Spurenberg. Brett
is
Van
common. Wait.
Spruenberg, 2023. The only thing that
It's
matters
length.
is length.
It's like,
It doesn't matter
That's
how you
true.
arrange those letters and characters. It only
No.
matters.
It's the only thing that matters.
I see that
How
you're
deeply it
compensating with that monitor behind you in terms of
Yeah.
length.
You want some length to that one.
Yeah.
well, there's certainly no
I'm
girth
saying-
to it.
Well, it's okay because I just have LastPass create passwords for me that are really long,
So
and then they get
that is one
completely
choice.
Pwned, and
You
it's,
went wrong. Remember, I said from a brute force approach. From a brute force approach, more characters are better than fewer characters.
So this is why I constantly try and tell people this, and I just pasted a generator, a password generator to the logs, XK password, and it's done off the XKCD one, which sort of explains that if you just sort of replace letters with numbers or symbols, it's going to guess it. If you make
That's true.
yourself a 3 or 4 letter phrase with proper punctuation and capitalization, you're going to remember it. And there ain't
Up with the
going to
short
be a
sentence.
computer on the damn frickin' planet that's going to get it before the heat death of the universe. Unless, of course, the Chinese actually did the quantum encryption breaking that they say they did, which we'll see. But seriously, it's a sentence. Your brain's wired to remember it. I hate...
They're not after your bank
every
account, by
site-
the way. The Chinese, they're not after
No,
your bank
probably
account
not.
anyway, so just forget it.
But I hate every
Anyway.
password solution that refuses to accept space as a character. Because then you can't write yourself a simple sentence. But Lord help you, just type a 4-letter sentence that makes no sense to anyone except you because you find it funny. Include vulgarity. It helps with the memory. Your password
great
will not
advice.
get hacked.
Boy, you're
Like
using that
box
whole
of
space
toenails
thing.
or
It's
something.
going all Hunter's War, Orson Scott Card at this point.
Oh,
He was
Nice.
way ahead.
Nice.
He was way ahead
Nice
of
reference.
the curve there.
Nice reference.
yeah.
Applause. Applause.
Not a nice guy, but a nice reference. And yes, you can use
excellent.
underscore instead of space if you want.
yes.
We're not going political.
Okay.
No.
Another patch. This is the first patch Tuesday of the year, by the way. It's exploding with in the wild exploit fixes, or one.
Most
Yeah,
most
they put out a
extreme-
patch for Excel 2013 and pushed it to everyone for some reason,
I wonder what else.
along with this one.
Well, I mean, there's 90
No, there
security
were 2
flaws.
patches. There was this one that was wrapped into one. Because boy, is it
11 of
really hard
which
to
are
find out what's in the
RC.
KB.
11 of which are RCEs. So,
Yes.
thanks, Windows.
Because you used to be able to look up the knowledge base article and find out exactly what was in it. Now you have to dig because Microsoft don't like admitting it anymore. But
it
yeah,
funny?
it's a big one. If you don't got it, get it.
They eliminate their internal quality assurance department essentially, and then they stop publishing details about their
Yeah.
exploits and updates. You used to be able to look up the KB whatever number and go right to a Microsoft page and it would tell you every single thing that this Windows Update patch is doing to your system. It's changing this, it's altering that, it's replacing this.
Now you can click on it and go to a Microsoft website where it alludes to what it might or might
they're not
not have
specific
Hey,
done.
come on, it's security through obscurity, and they're
Yeah,
that
obscuring
always
it
works.
all as best they can.
Mhm.
And it also fixes last patch Tuesday when came out that some systems, when it hit the login screen, would go to blue screen and then come back and then let you log in, but every once in a while went back to blue screen. That one's actually been fixed. It's not a rollback, it's an actual fix for that one. I can't remember what KB article that was. So, hey.
Hey, Sebastian, before we go on, I was just scrolling back through some comments on YouTube, and I think you were prophetic. Gavin Thomas said that Brett has become Steve Gibson. I don't know if you saw that.
Do you do code in assembly?
I have, and I actually enjoy it. It's like digging.
Oh,
Some would say, and I agree with it. It's like digging post holes with a teaspoon. With complete control over all the dirt.
It's like escaping from Alcatraz. All right. Microsoft ends Windows 7 extended security updates on Tuesday. It's finally here. The end of Windows 7. Even extended support is over. Enterprise.
Oh, it's only extended support at this point.
Well, right. Yeah, that's true. Anybody who's running
And
Windows 7.
8.1.
Come on, long live Arrow.
Yay, Arrow.
I need to use my 3D accelerator all the time. I paid a lot of money for this
All the
graphics
time.
card. I
All
want
the time.
transparencies. Actually, then just use like Project Looking Glass. Use Mac OS. Their whole freaking UI is 3D accelerated.
Okay, Brett.
And PDF.
Yeah, it's also 8.1 though. So make sure that like it is 8.1 that dies along with 7.
I like
So-
8.1. I'm a very rare breed of person who didn't like 8 but liked 8.1. And when I started using 10,
8.1 was a big improvement.
yes, it was.
over
And
8.
really, Josh, when 10 came out, everybody's freaking out. Let's go at the start menu again. I can use Windows now.
It's like
And
it's mini Metro.
It's the
Come on,
same freaking
mini
thing.
tiles.
Windows
Mini
10,
Metro.
early Windows 10 was just 8.1.
Wasn't
in the
Metro?
start menu.
Wasn't that what it's called? Metro.
Yeah,
I can't
Metro.
Yeah,
Well,
remember.
no, they
it
stopped
was.
calling it Metro. Remember, they fired Steven
It
Sinofsky.
became-
They stopped calling it
Yeah.
Metro. They called it Tiles.
Yes.
And-
The interface formerly known as Metro.
And honestly, this might be a controversial opinion, but I think we'll look back on this at some point in the future and say, you know what? Tiles actually weren't that bad. Who likes going through the start menu and then like...
Every time I log into a
They tried it on a phone. It was horrible.
that was brilliant. The Windows Phone interface was fantastic.
Oh my
The only
every
thing
time I
about
log
Windows
into
Mobile-
a Server
or sorry, Windows
2012
Phone.
instance,
Okay, it was,
I am presented with 12.
it was inappropriate outside of consumer devices, but I liked setting up my tile start screen because I could have things just the size I wanted, the place I wanted them to be in, categories. It was fine. I wasn't
And
using
Abe
the
points
touchscreen.
out, Wart goes too. Windows RT, the one that can't run Windows applications, they're also bailing on support for that as well.
So good.
Can't believe it took them so long.
But here's the
That
thing:
was-
is that you took the time to customize your Metro experience.
Yes, I did.
A vast majority of users did not, and it was not fantastic.
Is that what they mean by metrosexual?
No, that's
No, see, the nice thing about Windows 8.1 is by default it booted up to your desktop, and then you had the start thingy in the corner that just let you right click and do like power user functions, like go straight to the the management console or go right to the device manager, something like that. Shut down your system.
And
All you
remember,
could do
Ryan
off
didn't
right-click.
realize you could do that to shut it down.
Yeah.
He always did the little chimes.
Yep.
So, yeah. And our final
But,
security story
Yeah,
of the week.
something else is dying.
First, LastPass, now Slack, and Circle CI. I don't know what that is. The hacks go on and will likely worsen. Well, of course they will. They'll never end. People have to get smarter. People have to stop, I don't know. I don't know what to do. If you can't trust your password manager, I mean, who can you trust, really?
I mean, Slack is used by so many organizations to do absolutely so much communication. This is potentially horrendous. As far as I can tell, based upon my read of this, it was an employee's token or some sort of authorization mechanism was stolen so that whoever took them downloaded a ton of Slack source code, which, as we all know, is the gateway to the bad guys finding you didn't free your memory here, you have a floating pointer here, you're reading past, you have an cleansed input, open input here. It's just ways for them to find that sort of stuff. So I would expect a significant breach of Slack within a couple of months. That's my prediction. Still not Steve Gibson. Circle CI. I don't know. Did Jeremy, did you include this one? I'm not sure about Circle CI.
I don't even know what it is.
Then by all means, let's talk about it at great length.
No, we probably won't go on. But I know it's like a continuous. It's a continuous integration for software development. That's
thus ends this episode of Security Now. Not on the Twit network though. This is the parody version of it.
Yeah, we're not in the cottage.
I'm not Steve Gibson.
Let's move on to gaming quick hits. You can play Company of Heroes 3 multiplayer before it even launches. I think that's called beta testing, right? Like you can run on Windows 11.
But at least they're honest about it.
Double beta testing.
You know, back in the day, they used to have this thing called game demos.
Yep.
You could actually play it before you buy it. And sometimes they'd even release these demos months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first level or two.
1942.
Yes, or the first map. Yes.
The Iwo Jima
MDK2
multiplayer to test all the servers on BF 1942.
Yep.
It was the most amazing time in gaming that I remember.
Oh,
I remember
people
going
putting
back and
landmines
forth
on Jeeps. Yeah, it was awesome.
We're going back and forth on whether or
awesome.
not they allowed demo of multiplayer versus single player. Some did, some didn't. But I always appreciated it when they did. And this one does.
Well, 42 really had to do that because
yes,
it was a groundbreaking.
Yeah.
and
I love
oh my
BF
god, was it broken when they put the beta out? I'm sure you spent a lot of time helping them with that too. When I do this, I fall through the map. When I try to log on to this server with these people, it won't let me. So yeah, Company of Heroes is doing what is essentially a multiplayer tech demo. They're trying to figure out how everything's going to break before they release it. So until Monday, you've got a chance to play it, if you would so like.
All right, Josh, I hope you're primed and ready for a Josh Tech review.
Throwing them into the driver's seat?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so
My heart is
I've
racing.
been wanting to build. Arms are weak. Staying on my shirt. Mom's spaghetti. I don't know. Anyway, no. Next Level Racing. They sent me a standalone monitor stand, freestanding. The official name is Next Level Racing Light Freestanding Monitor Stand. Now that's not doubling up on the whole stand, but I mean it's the English language. So
Well, you've taken a stand on that, haven't you?
yeah,
Oh, God.
I'll deal with it. This is a $120 unit made of cold rolled high carbon steel, glass infused nylon plastic, and they sent this for you, and it can handle up to a 55-inch TV that weighs up to 44 pounds, which is kind of, you're looking at plasma screens were kind of that heavy, right? Because I know my 55-inch OLED out front is about 33 pounds when all is said and done, and that's without the stand. And so you could mount pretty much anything modern on this up to 55 inches. So one of the nice things about it, obviously, is that it is freestanding. So you can use this with multiple cockpits. So say you're a flight enthusiast and you've got a flight cockpit. Well, you can move over your big old monitor to that one, and then you feel like racing some rally. You move over to your other cockpit and do that there. But even better is if you see some of the, like the higher end extruded aluminum cockpits for either flight or racing or whatever. When you start looking at the add-on brackets for monitors, they get a lot more expensive than $120. And so this is a nice little compromise. I mean, it won't fit in quite as organically with your cockpit, but it still works really, really well. And there's enough height in there that you can fit that over the feet. You can get it pretty close to you. with the vast majority of these cockpits, even some of the bigger F1 style, where your feet are way high up and your butt is down. Really high quality made, very adaptable. The only issue I really had is that my TV is a 300 by 300 VISA, and you couldn't really adjust the bars, because the 300 by 300 required, it was the same size as the 400 by 400. And if you go there and you can kind of see, you can't slide those in the way they have all the drill pattern. So that would be maybe nice to have like a geometry expert in there to be able to do that, because the only issue I really had with this is the TV I had about an inch ledge below the VISA mount, a couple of inches below it, and the bars would actually kind of rub against that, and was hard to install, and it required some jiggery pokery to get it to work. But otherwise, it's not a piece of technology, it's a piece of furniture, but it works very well for what it does. It's extremely sturdy. The thing that I like about it is that you've got like 15 or 20 degrees worth of tilt that you can do on the monitor. So you've got, a 44-pound monitor. A lot of the tilt options, when you screw them in eventually, like this, monoprice speaker stand or microphone stand, that it keeps drifting downwards because of the mounting mechanism. This is a cogged mechanism, so it doesn't slip. Once you tighten it down, it's locked in place. And so that was another nice design feature of the entire thing. As you can tell from my extremely dirty house, 55-inch works in there nicely. I can't wait.
This house looks fine. There's a microfiber cloth on the couch.
Yeah, because I had to clean. I had to take the stand off of the TV to get it to fit properly, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then a somewhat freshly vacuum carpet. Got to keep that carpet clean, gentlemen.
Nice hardwood floor there, I see. Are those? Is that oak?
Thank you.
6-foot oak?
It's a red oak. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I even dusted the
a light varnish to the wood before the poly.
And I see the stand has a thick rubber kind of foot on it, so that it doesn't kind of mar
your
nice
surface.
Yes,
oak.
Exactly.
Doesn't mar the oak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, it is
rubber. It looks like metal. Is there a rubber?
No,
is that a rubber?
It's a plastic. It is a hard plastic fitting to it, so it doesn't slip around. It doesn't scratch floors.
That's good.
And you could go to Amazon and get a $60 or $70 kind of monitor, or TV stand. But those are typically, a single post with, the 5 caster type wheels spread out, 4 or 5 of them. And that doesn't give you as much flexibility in getting the actual monitor or TV close enough to you to where you're comfortable. So you've always got it a certain amount far away. And so this at least has that, big empty area where you can use it with multiple different racing stands. So it's a nice product, $120, not bad, well made. So if you have a use for it, then pick one up. And thanks to Next Level Racing for down in Australia for providing that monstrosity to me. It's not really a monstrosity.
Would you say that the 55 maxed out the dimension so that the bottom doesn't run?
Yes, it really can't. It really can't go. You could go higher, but
I noticed that in the picture that you can't tilt because the bottom of the display is going to start to run into the frame.
Yeah.
You said what, 15 degrees?
But I don't know. I'm not a protractor.
Hey, some of us are protractor.
Some of us are.
Micrometer.
Our next review and our final review this week is big. This is big. This is really big. This is almost 4 slots and 12.6 inches in length. It is a girthy monstrosity of a graphics card. And no, we're not talking about an 4090 or some huge oversized 4080. We're talking about a Radeon RX 7900 XTX. It's the Sapphire NITRO Plus. What are you going to say?
Those chamfered corners. Those chamfered corners.
This has
really
an
in love with
Apple-like
them so
appearance
far.
to it that I know will please you.
That does excite me in all the right ways.
Okay. Anyway, it's bigger. It's faster. It's more RGB-ier than an AMD reference card, and it doesn't have the vapor chamber issue to worry about. So, as I wrote here in this review, it's a monster, and it's kind of funny that AMD was making noise about how compact their reference design card was. It took shots at NVIDIA because our card just drops right in to existing situations. Well, Sapphire said, hold on, what if we make our version of a 4090? This is the fastest Radeon of this generation. Who knows what they'll have coming down the pike this year. But for right now, you cannot get a faster Radeon card than the XTX. That's why it has the extra X in it. What if we give this the power draw of a 4090? What can we do with that?
Ooh,
so it has
exciting.
3 PCIe 8-pin connectors on it. You can see I have a red one, a black one, and another red one because I didn't have 3 red cable extensions. I looked around and I realized I didn't, so I had to improvise.
From this angle, it almost looks like a 24-pin motherboard coming across the top.
It basically is. I mean, but look at the card. Even without the RGB
3x8,
lighting, any of that stuff. Thanks.
Nice. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Look at the side view of this card. It's so classy. And really, if you look at that first picture, the featured photo, this is how it looks from the side. It is crazy how different the card looks when you're just looking at it when it's installed vertically. I first fired it up. I'm like, oh, that's really classy looking. And I got closer to it, looked at it from the top. Holy crap. That's a very bright upwards and downwards. As you can see, it's illuminating this black motherboard very nicely.
Oh, that's where that's coming from.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
Very bright directional lighting that is very diffuse and, more sophisticated from the side. So anyway, it's big. It's over 3 slots. There's the 3-slot bracket, and it extends beyond that, about another half slot. And they did all kinds of things with this design. I didn't get into all of it. Their list of features for this is crazy. It's
extensive.
It's very extensive. Here's the 3 8-pins for power. You can see from the side here, there is this plate that covers all the VRMs. Their vapor chamber cooling, it covers the GPU and the memory.
And you can see straight through it. That's interesting.
The support.
Hey, what's plastic versus metal here? Point that out.
I think just this light strip is plastic.
Oh, so it's all aluminum.
I'm not sure about the front. I don't remember now,
aluminum.
and I returned it already, so I can't.
Okay.
It's got an aluminum back plate. It's got
that's nice.
It has an ARGB cable that it comes with in the box. And you have ARGB.
It's got fan in as well.
Sync
whatever that
with your
means.
motherboard lighting. But yeah, or turn it off.
That's where the red team plugs in.
Look at the list of features from Sapphire. Dual BIOS, Trick software switch, premium digital design, ultra high performance conductive polymer aluminum capacitors, fuse protection, Tri-X cooling technology, VaporX cooling, high TG copper PCB, and it goes on and on and on. These are just the features.
Do not taunt Happy Fun Ball.
Yeah,
I don't know.
What is an angular velocity fan blade?
Look at it. Look at the angle.
Well, look at them. They're all bent weird.
Look how angular they are.
Okay, you're right.
And it comes with this support bracket in the box, has an ARGB cable. And look, VaporX cooling is back. And I'm sure...
it's got a transportation wick.
Sapphire doesn't need to do this. They make a quality product.
Sapphire has great QA. It's a very solidly made product. It's very nice. And it's this one's just their highest end SKU, so it's going to have some extra.
Okay, I guess
stuff
they're proud of it. They're proud of it.
And here's what you can do. Look what you can do with all of that. The Nitro Plus compared to the reference card was 700 points higher in Time Spy Extreme. That's the GPU score. 754 points higher in Port Royal.
Oh, okay.
A modest 292 points higher in Speedway, but that's a more compressed. The stack here is a little bit more compressed. But it's in games that doesn't necessarily translate into the same kind of boost, but it will leapfrog a 4080 in certain circumstances, like Metro Exodus goes from being a frame behind to a frame or two ahead. So it's
Was that with ray tracing or no?
no, this is the one without. So absolutely no ray
Okay.
tracing was enabled in the original version.
Oh,
of
original.
Exodus.
There you go. Sorry.
Yep, I did not use Enhanced Edition for this review. And then here we have F122, which is a DXR game, and the 4080 is still ahead, but the Sapphire NITRO Plus is almost 6% faster than reference, and that's just out of the box. I didn't do any overclocking. I didn't increase power limits.
And on 1% as well.
Oh yeah.
And
So here's the
bringing
thing.
up 1%.
Yeah, and this
Ooh,
right
ouch.
here is
What happened?
why I was either going to update the BIOS on my test board or just move to an Intel platform, at least temporarily, to see what the heck is going on with certain cases like Cyberpunk, where the 1% lows that I'm getting don't seem to match anybody else's. Then again, I don't think anybody else retested the game on 1.61 when that came out either.
Yeah.
And I think 161 underperforms compared to 160. So anyway, power though. Power is interesting metric here. So
Was that
don't get
470
4%.
peak?
if you are
475?
performance
No,
without power.
495.5 watt was peak, and it hit that a couple of times.
Man.
Oh, wow.
It's
Just shy of the 500 watts.
It consistently was at 450 to 475 under load.
That's like overclocked 4090.
Yeah. So NVIDIA, you can give them crap and talk about the 4090 is the most ridiculous card of the generation. And then, well, Nitro Plus actually pulls more power on average than a 4090 Founders Edition card. So apparently the GPU doesn't really scale that well with power. That's what I'm trying to say. It scales really well with clock speeds. Doesn't scale with power, apparently. Because this is a 1 to 6% faster in just a few games I tested card. But the power draw is pretty incredible. I mean,
like FPS Review just did an overclocked 4090 Founders Edition.
Yeah.
And they saw about that.
Yes, I know.
For the power draw.
That's funny. That's cute. Oh, you're hitting 490 watts. Let me show you the Nitro Plus without any overclocking. So you have to be okay with that. You've got to have a robust power supply, and it makes full use of those 3 PCIe connectors. But it's just, this is what we have. This is, if you're a Radeon fan, this is the limit, because the Nitro Plus was going to be the highest end card this generation.
Yeah, well.
And it's a few percentage points faster, but what you are getting is a better made card than the made by AMD card, period. It's got better cooling.
You can run it vertically and horizontally?
Yeah. And you know what? I didn't test it horizontally, and I already sent it back. So just don't ask. I already put that in the review.
All right.
Before you ask, I didn't do different orientations, okay? Aside from the whole power thing, the price is $11.99 for this card, as far as I can tell. And that's just the only official listing I can find that's a Newegg listing, and it's out of stock. Third-party sellers want like $1,500 for this thing. But, I mean, that's the same story with the 4080, and this is the card that will trade blows with the 4080, depending on whether you're using ray tracing or not.
Yeah.
So just putting into perspective, this generation, it's a $1,200-ish performance level. It competes with the 4080. I don't think that makes it overpriced. I'd like to see both of them selling for $600, but that's not going to happen.
How did these special fans sound when you pushed it under
I couldn't hear
benchmarking?
them. That's the thing. I need to come up with a low power, passively cooled test bed so I can drop the GPU into that just to do noise testing. Because right now,
So it
GPU
cooled
like
that
this-
400 watts plus without making a sound?
not that I could hear over the CPU cooler fan.
But we'll revisit this review in the summer and see how.
I wish I could keep these cards, but unfortunately, the high end Sapphire stuff always goes back. The one interesting thing though, and Furmark has been trending lately because, of course, people stress testing for the whole 110 throttling thing on the XTX reference cards. I ran Furmark, which I don't like to do, and I feel like, isn't Furmark at this point already kind of recognized by drivers, and the cards get down volted?
Yeah.
Sense that Furmark is running. But I ran Furmark for 15 minutes with this card, and my hotspot got all the way up to 73C. And my core temp, it took the full 15 minutes for it to finally go from 60 up to 61. The range was 59 to 61 in 15 minutes of Furmark. And the card barely had to spin up to do this. Like, the cooler is so huge. I don't really understand why it's this huge. You could go with a 2.5 slot and you'd have more fan noise. They went 3.5 slot and you can barely hear it. So if you value silence and reliability and you have the space for a card this large, it's hard to tell because I didn't do what Josh said I should do and take comparison photos. Because this is, I could show you the Supreme X, and that's pretty much what we're talking about here. Because,
Careful, two-handed lift.
yeah, if you look at it, basically what MSI does with the Supreme X is similar in size to what the Nitro Plus looks like this year.
Yeah.
Except, yeah, it's very close. It's extremely close. It's hard to tell with my poor lighting here, but there
It's like
is about
sticking almost four slots.
yeah. There's a finger's worth of additional heatsink above the 3-slot bracket.
Yeah.
And then the card is a little over, like, it's like 12.5 inches, 13 inches long. And it's thick. Like, it extends quite a bit above, it's like 2 fingers above the retention bracket. So this is the size of the Nitro Plus. It's just, I don't have it to actually show you. But it's not going to fit in every case. It's not small form factor friendly, and it draws a heck of a lot of power. So they did what they could. This is the flagship of the flagship. So
They counted on America to be passive. They counted wrong.
you know what? For their efforts and for how incredibly cool and quiet this thing ended up being, I give it the gold award. I mean, it's not their fault that the XTX didn't live up to the hype and become the 4090 competitor that AMD Radeon fans wanted it to be. And in that case, and if that
In power draw, it is.
Right. If the GPU performed better, we wouldn't be worried about the power draw. It's just it pulls so much more power than a 4080. A 4080 is a pretty damn efficient GPU at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, let's move to our final segment of the week. It is, of course, picks of the week. Josh, please get us started.
Okay. I don't know this company, Z Edge, but it's another 34-inch, 3440 by 1440 ultra wide, 21 by 9, 165 hertz IPS gaming monitor. FreeSync, picture-by-picture, picture-in-picture mode, DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.0, got a VESA mount on the back, $350. It was a little bit cheaper earlier, but Z Edge, they seem to have a mostly positive ranking with it, but finding an IPS of that speed and size is, well, it's wonderful to see at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Monitors. Everything else getting more expensive, but monitors are getting cheaper.
I didn't see if that was curved. Is that a curved display or is that flat?
No, I think it's straight. It's flat.
Huh.
It's Carpenter's dream.
Ultra wide without the curve. Interesting.
Yeah, usually those were the really early Samsungs were ultra wide without the curve, and I haven't seen one in a while.
Well, with IPS, you can get away with it. You need that curve for those VA panels.
I actually like the curve in these 1500R.
I've gotten used to it.
There.
I don't mind it at all.
Yeah,
I thought I would hate it, but I really like the ultra wide with the curve.
Oh, wait, sorry, Jeremy, your pick.
Well, you spoiled it. Hey, do you like to eat? Do you like to eat food? Because there is something really important that has happened this week. John Deere, who have been fighting tooth and nail to prevent any farmer from being able to repair their own damn tractor, has finally backed down. Not 100%. What they've done is agree to allow farmers to at least access diagnostics and be able to purchase tools that the diagnostics say that they need and need to be reviewed yearly. But this is huge. The ability of farmers to be able to repair their John Deere tractors, for those that have still stuck with John Deere, because this is the only company agricultural wise that doesn't let you do this. But hey, this is amazing. Because if you buy it, you really should own it.
Yeah.
You should be allowed to fix it. You shouldn't be taken to court and arrested and thrown in jail for trying to fix it. This is a big thing. I don't actually own any John Deere products, but if I did, I'd be very happy and probably be out there breaking them right now. It's a big thing.
Speaking of big things, Brett, let's look at your pick this week.
You know, I almost thought about this as a joke pick, but then I looked at it a little bit more and I'm like, wow, these people are actually serious. Do you like electricity? Do you like using electricity? Do you often have a lot of things? Do you have a lot of things to plug in?
I like the taste of it.
To a particular space.
I have so many things to plug in, Brett, that I have things plugged into extension cords, plugged into other extension cords.
This is your product. Bring it up, please.
Look at this. Look at all those glorious outlets.
It's 22 outlets, AC outlets, 6 USB charging ports, 2100 joule suppressing for spikes and such. They can only get a 6.5 foot extension cord because anymore, I don't know, another foot and I might have just get melted. I'm making that up.
I think it's probably
fine.
Hot.
But for $30, this is a 32% off deal. Did I say it was 22 AC outlets? Because I want to go back to that. It's 22 AC outlets. Now
and 6 USB charging.
And 6 USB charging outlets.
We should get one of these and just plug in as many high-powered things into it as we can and just watch it. Because, I mean, if you plug this
mind-blowing
into, say, a 20 amp wall outlet, I wonder if you could actually melt that power cable.
I have to admit they have a more modest version with only like 18 AC outlets, but I went back and forth.
Exciting.
Went back and forth between two of them, and then I went, what am I thinking? Top of the line. Get the 22 outlet one. So is it a joke? Is it for real? I don't know. I think somebody should try it out.
I think in a situation like the one they're picturing here, where it's just on a desk and it's just a way for people to plug in their cell phone chargers or, the occasional laptop, it'd probably be fine. But this many outlets doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence.
Oh, let me tell you what this many outlets does in my mind is it begs for abuse. It completely begs for a significant amount of abuse.
I had wired my entire home with one extension cord and 22 outlets. I don't think my house is,
and it's actually coming from the neighbor's place, but don't mention that.
I just want it.
If there was a 40 amp version, I could understand it, but 20,
it's only 15. It's a 15 amp rated product, which was probably the limitation of the power cable coming off of it.
That's why the 18 AC outlet one has an 8-foot cord. This is why I made that distinction, actually. Yep. So this is, as Sebastian was implying, this is probably for a family of wall wart type deals where they're only drawing a few watts a piece.
Actually, this is a vintage gamer's dream, because think about it. You have a Super NES, Nintendo, Genesis, all these systems with their big wall wart, and they don't pull very much power at all. Instead of having the tangled mess of power strips plugged into power strips, one fire hazard in one spot.
It's localized.
Yeah, and you can
just need a little like a cement board area around it to catch the fire.
Yeah, and have a fire extinguisher pointed at it at all times during operation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or suppression
and keep your oily rags there, and everything else. Just put all the fire in one place.
There should be a Raspberry Pi with heat sensors around it that trigger a fire suppression system. I think that would probably do it.
Mm-hmm. But then the Raspberry Pi, it would have,
I need to get Raspberry Python then.
Yeah, the Raspberry Pi is plugged into it, so just kind of defeats the purpose.
Okay, real quick, my pick this week is, I'm dissatisfied with Windows. And I think a lot of us are. We're sick of it. We're sick of the BS and the.
If this is a Palm OS commercial,
no, I want to free myself from the tyranny of Windows, and I can do that with this new operating system. It's called Linux, and it's got this friendly-looking I don't know
what
what
was
he
that?
is,
An
a
animal?
penguin or
Some sort of
something.
animal? Some
He's
sort
got,
of
like,
animal?
Some sort of animal.
He looks like a penguin, but then he has duck feet. Anyway,
That's weird.
this
Probably
disc,
a jackass penguin.
just this boot boot disc. It doesn't just have a bunch of demos on it. It's got an entire operating system on it, 250 megabytes. Install it today and
Of the
rock your
most-
PC in a completely new way.
Most rebellious OS ever.
Why is it
What
not
is it?
focusing on this?
Is it Debian?
I don't know. I need to load this up in something and figure out which distro this is. I'm going to try it out.
I've been enjoying
should.
Pop OS recently, and some of the folks in the chat told me that I
I've
shouldn't
heard
enjoy it as
talk
much.
of this.
But I'm enjoying it. They said I should stop and enjoying it. I should not enjoy it as much as I am, but I can't help it. I'm actually liking it. It's like, wow, this
Brett,
actually
you do
is
you.
Linux, and it plays. I was playing Steam games on it. I ran
It's called
Minecraft
Proton,
on it.
Fool.
Yeah, exactly.
Works on everything.
Exactly. It's, Lutris. It was
This is from
Lutris and
November of
Proton.
1997. So if that tells you which distro that is, I don't know.
Well, I hope it's a long-term branch because
When I got my first Athlon MP test system in, I had to beg SUSE 8 for SUSE for their 8 version because it was one of the few multi-threaded OSs at that time.
Okay.
yes, it was. It and CentOS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent some time on CentOS.
I always said CentOS. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. We should have an
Yeah,
argument.
I'm
about it.
Canadian. What do
Do
you
you say
want?
OS 10 or
Oh.
OS X, Brett?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I vacillate between the two, honestly.
You vacillate
I'm not
between the
really
two?
stuck on
Then
one.
you're not a true Apple fan. Because a true Apple fan only says OS 10 and never X. Just like they'll correct you if you say, the iPhone X, the one. No, you mean the iPhone 10.
Oh, I always say 10. I always say iPhone 10, but I don't ever say iPhone X. But I have caught myself saying OS X
Josh said.
in order to.
iPhonics?
We haven't done the outro yet. Josh, come back.
Josh,
No, he's
He
digging
can't hear a
something
thing.
up.
Yeah, he's getting something.
He's got
What does he
something.
got? All right.
Well, what do we got
Office.
there? Oh, Seuss.
Oh, no, it's
Seuss. Oh, you found 8.0.
That's
Had a huge
Josh is-
manual,
8.0 in a big box.
a big box.
huge box, very full of, and it's a little dusty, but yeah, it's got everything you need to install SUSE Linux. Total
Oh
control
my.
with Yes 2, and the dog apparently wants out.
Mm.
So
No, it wants the box.
network,
it wants
web
to learn
server,
to,
security, e-business, and desktop. New KDE 3.0, unprecedented desktop power, 2001 editor's choice. That tells you exactly how old.
Yeah. Doggy needs a grip.
Yeah, well, wife
Is
let the
that,
dog out, so
Is that when you're building your media PC? Your TV side. Instead of buying an off-the-shelf video recorder, you're running Linux with it with a Avera media card.
Hop Hog.
Hop Hog, yeah.
Daver.
What was it called? Like a TV? It wasn't the All-in-Wonders. It was something else. TV. something.
Hofage, yeah. If you give me a second, I can
No,
drag
no.
that other.
Oh my God!
That's when you marched into your cable provider and demanded, I have a right to this cable card. I have a right to my cable
Actually,
card.
People don't remember why this was an issue. It's because they encrypted the signal, and you
Just like
couldn't
satellite,
actually route
those
it.
access cards.
Yes.
You always had to know
Yes.
a guy who could decrypt them for you for, whatever
Yep.
fee.
People did not understand.
Okay, there is a Hop Hog card back there. I just don't know where it is.
I sold mine years ago.
It's still there
Windows
somewhere.
Media Center thing. And I ran into the issue that I was having trouble with cable, and I don't receive enough over-the-air broadcasts where I live because of trees. I don't have an aerial.
Well, not enough of them have fallen down on your car yet.
I know. That one limb was not enough. I actually did try a few months ago, and I still get, like, public TV and, like, over-the-air QVC comes in. But I said
It's weird
that
which
existed.
which channels they didn't encrypt. It was
Right. The local Christian station, all 3 channels of that comes
Yep.
in, but that's it. Okay. let's say goodbye this week. Josh, do you have any words of wisdom for us?
You know, sadly, after flaming out last week and causing much embarrassment and disregard for my mental state, I have even fewer things to say, and you will thank me for that.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate the honesty.
Josh is really buying a lot of credibility this week. Really, critical reviews, honesty, really
Honesty.
felt-
I always trusted Josh. His
Yes.
self-effacing
Well, I mean-
style. You know what? He hides the pain. Some people do it with humor. Josh does it with humor.